You found the Service Business Mastery Podcast. I'm the producer, Brian Orr. And this is a special Christmas episode, just a quick bonus episode of the Service Business Mastery Podcast. So as you know, if you listened to the last episode, if you haven't listened to the last episode, you need to go back and listen to that one. Tersh is embarking on a completely unique journey, starting a business essentially from scratch again after building his own successful business as a partner before. He's embarking on a new journey with a new company that we have not even decided on the name yet of this new company. But this conversation today is a conversation that Tersh and Brandon had where they're working through some of their, I don't want to say differences, but some of the things that they need to figure out in order to come to a conclusion about how this business should be operated. And what I want you to listen to here is that this is the way that decisions are made in creating a business. A lot of people think that you have all the answers when you start, or that there's a manual that tells you the best ways to run a business. But often it's just these impromptu conversations that end up creating the policies and procedures that set the path for a new business. Hope you enjoy.
A lot of Brandon's current experiences are going to change. So like the things that he does, policies and procedures wise, are going to change. So we're going to show essentially how to start up a company brand new from scratch, doing policies and procedures.
We're also going from a time and material company
to a flat rate. Yeah, because Brandon's done time and material forever. So we're going from that to flat rates and show the growing pains and talk about the growing pains. And Brandon's never experienced flat rate, so he has tons of questions about that. And Brandon and I have known each other for 5 years or so.
Yeah,
and we've talked about flat rate and time and material for about 5 years. So it'll be an interesting little transition, I feel like.
Yeah,
Look forward to it.
I have some concerns.
Yeah.
But
what's your concerns?
well, everything has its pros and cons. You've talked about this on a previous podcast that there's pros and cons to almost everything. It's just what pros do you value the most, and what cons are you willing to overlook the most? Obviously, the pros to flat rate is you can be more profitable and it's more predictable.
Consistent.
Yeah.
It's better for the customer too. I mean, because if you have a green tech that comes in and we say we're only going to bill you 6 hours to change this compressor, and the green tech takes 10 hours to do it, then they're only getting paid billed 6 hours, or they're getting whatever their charge was that they were originally quoted. You don't go through the whole.
Well, personally, obviously, I haven't done flat rate yet, but personally, I still think that's arguable with what's better for the customer, because you say that we'll charge 6 hours to replace the compressor, but what if the technician does it in 4 and does everything he's supposed to do?
Did he do everything he's supposed to do? But see, what you're doing is you're penalizing a guy that is super efficient. He has a clean van.
Yes.
He's able to grab everything he needs on one trip and doesn't make 12 trips of the van. And then, so he's consistent and knows how to do what he's doing, and he multitasks in a good way. I mean, while he's pulling a vacuum, he's cleaning up. And some guys, they'll pull a vacuum and just sit there and twiddle their thumbs, and then after they're completely done, then they start cleaning up.
Yeah.
So then that adds 20, 30, 45 minutes to it. And then some techs will invest in expensive equipment. So
mention proper tools like pulling a vacuum.
And I mean, we watched Jim Bourbon's video on pulling a vacuum with his, what was that kit called?
I don't remember, but basically
that thing was ridiculous.
Yeah,
I mean,
he basically explained you don't have to spend 2 hours to pull a vacuum.
Yeah, and so basically, because a technician invests $400 or $500 in hoses and fittings and stuff like that, he's able to pull down the vacuum in 20 or 30 minutes.
Well, that's something that you were talking about with the new company. What's your thoughts on that now? Are you still wanting to supply a totally ready-to-go van with everything they need?
So here's my thought on that. I feel like we come up with a list of tools that we require. If you don't have the tools, then I'll buy them up front, and then you pay back half over the period of a year. But if you quit before the end of that year, then you don't get to take the tools. But if you don't quit, if you stay there past that year mark, then you keep all those tools. They're yours.
Okay. Now, what about that kit that you're talking about to pull a vacuum?
Yeah, that's one of the kits. I feel like that should be feel like that kit should be a requirement.
Well, question about that is, you're supplying the vacuum pump, obviously, right?
Yeah.
What's it worth to you for your service tech to run that vacuum pump less than half the time?
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. So it's less wear and tear on the vacuum pump.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking about your vacuum pump potentially lasting twice as long.
How many vacuum pumps have you gone through?
Depends on who's using it.
I guess that makes sense.
There was an employee that I had that could tear up an anvil. You probably know who I'm talking about. And I've never personally tore up a yellow jacket. Teared up. We're in the South. I never tore up a yellow jacket vacuum pump. Not the Bullet, but they're one to say it's their best one they have. I've never had a problem with one of them. And somehow he tore up one of them that I had. So, you know, they get old, whatever. I bought him a new one. In less than a year, that one broke too. So,
yeah, kind of running without oil, tipping them over, and
there's no telling.
Yeah, you're right. There's no telling. Drop it off a roof.
Probably a little bit of everything. You know, leaving it on the roof.
Letting it get rained on until the next time you come do a maintenance.
Yeah.
Just didn't pull a vacuum in between those 2 times you were there. Yeah, that's sketchy.
So yeah, there's a lot of questions on how-tos that we're obviously going to have to figure out probably as we go too.
The main thing is I really want all the tools to be compatible with Measure Quick.
Yes.
So like, okay, you don't have to get the iConnect, but if fill piece job links, if they connect, then you get like to choose between 3 or 4 different things. So you got the Testos, you got the iConnect, and you got the fill piece job links. So you pick between those 3, but you need one of those 3 so that they'll all connect to the Measure Quick app.
And that's something they're responsible for.
Well, yeah, they need the tools, but I would pay for half of them if they didn't have them right then.
So you buy them up front for them.
Yeah.
And
so it'd be upfront fish. Yeah, basically a tool account that essentially every month they get a credit of $100 or $200 for every month that they're there, and they're actually working 40 hours and not leave of absence or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So they're working full time at least, and then so they get the full $200 a month towards their tool account, and then at the end of whenever this parts are paid off, then half of those parts are paid off, then the parts are theirs. If they leave the company, then they leave. If they stay, then, you know, obviously they keep them. But
so there's no benefit in staying, just, you know, work for a year.
There's going to be a lot of benefits to stay in. That's just going to be one of those things that keeps people from coming on board and then getting $5,000 worth of tools and leaving next week.
Yeah.